to that as the week goes on. And so I think our next slide is what some people are very excited to hear about. So we are providing in-service credit and ACVREP credit for the majority of the sessions this week. And you need the opening code, which is Hadley. So I'll go ahead and type that in the chat, Hadley, Hadley. And hold on to that code. I'll tell you at the end what to do with that in order to get credit. And I think that is it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and let Sherry do her presentation.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, so we are going to get started. We're going to be talking about Braille, which we've been doing all day this week. Sue Glazier's presentation this morning, or just a little bit ago, was phenomenal on touch thinking and using your touch pads for Braille. We're going to really dive deep into some curricula and how to teach Braille and things like that during this section. So we're going to go over introductions, talk a little bit about the objectives, look at Braille curricula for teachers and parents, and then look at Braille curricula for students, and finally wrap up with some Braille resources, supplements, and tools. So it's going to be a jam-packed session. I am Sherry Hart. I am a statewide specialist, educational specialist for the visually impaired with the Florida Instructional Materials Center. I am certified teacher of the visually impaired. I have a master's degree in varying exceptionalities, and I am certified to teach in age 3 to grade 3. The objectives for this session include being able to name 2 resources for learning the Braille code targeted for teachers and parents, to be able to discuss and identify 3 Braille literacy programs for students, and third, to identify 3 instructional Braille supplements or strategies. If you have any questions along the way, please put them in the chat box. If I don't see them right away, Liz is monitoring the chat for me, which is very helpful. So she'll let me know. We're going to start off with improving Braille skills for teachers and parents. And there are a number of resources out there specifically designed for this. 2 of these for teaching UEB, Unified English Braille. For literary are UEB Online, and you will have access to this presentation. All of these are links that you can click on and get to them specifically. If there is a URL, you'll be able to click on it and get to it directly. The UEB Online Accessible Braille Training is a free online program. It is fully accessible for low vision and for use with screen readers. There are 31 lessons, and they are divided into 2 pieces. One where you have to translate the Braille into text using a keyboard, and the other piece is you actually have to translate text into Braille, still using your keyboard, but with 6-key entry. Hadley Institute for the Blind and Visually Impaired also has a UEB training program. It is also free. There are 10 courses for those that are visually impaired or Braille readers themselves, and that is delivered to your house and uses auditory. There are 6 courses for those that are sighted. Some additional UEB literary resources include the BRL Braille through Remote Learning program. It is once again a free online program. It consists of 3 integrated courses. There is an introduction to Braille. There is one specifically for Braille transcribers. And then there's one for specialized codes such as Nemeth, Math Braille, Music Braille, Computer Braille, and Chemistry Braille. I know when I was teaching, I needed some of those at different times. I taught for the majority of my teaching career as an elementary school teacher and with younger students. But sorry, got distracted by the chat. I'll be right with you. But I would have definitely needed some of these as my students got older. I never did have to do Music Braille, but Computer Braille and Math Braille, certainly. And so it's nice to have these options and free on top of that. I did go through the UEB online course myself, and I started it when I was teaching, and my goal was to do a lesson a week, and there are a number of lessons, so it took me 2 or 3 months to get through it, but it was completely doable. And it was nice because I could go at my own pace. It saved everything for me as I went along. I didn't have to restart it or anything like that. It took me right where I left off when I logged back in again. So that one I'm very familiar with because I did do that one myself. The Hitchhiker's Guide to UE.
Sorry. So one of the things that's nice with that UEB online too is that it won't let you advance unless you send the work correctly. So you're not waiting on anybody else. It's just strictly you figuring it out, and then the computer lets you continue once it's correct.
Yes, it's immediate feedback, and it will not let you go on no matter how hard you try. And believe me, I did try on several instances. It will not let you go on until you get it correct. The Hitchhiker's Guide to UEB is a free downloadable PDF. So it's more of a quick reference tool to be used by those that already know Braille. I know if it had been a while between Braille students, I might need to refresh and do some of this. So I did use the Hitchhiker's Guide for that. And it also provides nice, quick text for student use. So if you need to come up with sentences quickly, for Brailing, for practicing keyboarding skills, anything like that, this is a really good tool to use for those types of things. This is a new one that I just recently found out about. It is called UBot, and it is for UEB as well. It is used with Perky Duck. So if you don't have Perky Duck, you can download it free of charge. It is specifically designed for people that were already proficient in eBay. So it isn't somebody, this one is not for people that are new to Braille and trying to learn from the very beginning. It is fully accessible with a screen reader, and there are video and audio content that has closed captioning. So it has not a lot of really nice accessibility features that some of the others might not have. Yes, so Sheila Crawford also went through the UEB online with me, and if you do get stuck, and I did and had to use that, the support staff, I shot off an email and they got back with me right away, because there was one that I absolutely could not figure out. I could not figure out what I was doing wrong, and so I kind of took a screenshot and sent it to them, and they got back with me with the right answer, or at least a hint along the way so I could figure it out. And it was very nice. Oh, and Cynthia has used it. We're getting to the math portion soon, Cynthia. I haven't done the math with it yet, but I'm glad to see somebody else has. So some UEB literary resources for parents, because I do know that we have some parents on and watching. On the left, the dots for families Braille lessons is from Paths to Literacy. It is a free downloadable PDF. It does have lessons and answer keys, so you can go along with the lessons and make sure that you're getting the right answers. It is enough to know Braille in order to support your child while they're learning Braille. So this is a very nice resource and is easy just to download as a PDF. Another one that we have is Just Enough to Know Better. It is available from the FIMC-VI loan library, and there is a link to that on this page as well that you can just click on and get right to. It is in one volume, and it is a print book with exercises in Braille. The parent would use their sight to identify the Braille alphabet, numbers, contractions, and it does contain a few of the exceptions in there. I've had parents use this and really like it and found value in it. So it can be borrowed from the loan library. APH has an amazing website called the Braille Bug, and it is specifically designed for sighted individuals to learn more about Braille. So it's a great resource for parents as well. It talks about what Braille is, goes into Braille literacy, gives Braille resources and things for them to do. It has games and secret messages that they can play with their kids. And there's a lot more on there. I know there's a section on Louis Braille. So if you're doing any kind of research on him, there's a whole section on that. There's also a section on Helen Keller and the new museum that they have on her at APH in Kentucky. And so it's a really nice website to go to for a lot of nice resources. So yes, the Just Enough to Know Better has been updated for UEB, Miriam. So it's a good resource for parents. So that was all on literary Braille. We're going to move now into some more of the math, technical science. So the first section is for UEB as well, and UEB online, which I did for literary. The math was not available when I was still teaching, but it is available. 2 of the 3 sections or levels are now available for math, the elementary level and the middle school level. They are working on a high school level that is supposed to be coming out soon. It was actually supposed to be out already, but as with everything, COVID and the shutdown delayed that, I believe. And so that should be coming out very soon. But it is nice that they break it down into the different levels. It is free online, fully accessible. Once again, get automatic feedback, and it will not let you move on until you get the answers correct. It also has that 2-part feature where you have to translate the math problems from a visual Braille format into text, and then you also have to translate the text into Braille using the 6-key entry. APH also has a UEB math tutorial and a Nemeth tutorial. They are both free online training programs. Teachers use either the UEB technical materials with a focus on math or the Nemeth code, because they do have tutorials for both of them, which is very nice. It's broken down into chapters, and it has lessons that are accompanied by exercises and does include reading, writing, and proofreading sections. Sheila has said that the APH Nemeth tutorial has lots of glitches, so that's good to know. Haven't used that one. if anybody else has feedback on these, we would love to hear them. We want to make this as interactive as possible and make sure, because I haven't had a chance to use all of them, that they are good and will work well for teachers who do, because that would be frustrating to start something and find out it doesn't work very well. Both of them from APH though have basic levels with numbers and simple operations, and then gradually grow and get harder and harder as you move along. Okay. After our working with the experts, with Mary DeAngelis last year on math, UEB and Nemeth, we came up at our center. Kathy Krimplowski did most of this. She is our Braille and math guru, and she's phenomenal. So we came up with a UEB numeric indicator flow chart to know when to turn on the numeric indicators and things like that. I am visual. This is a visual reference, so I apologize out there if there are any Braille readers. If you need it in Braille, maybe put a note in the chat box and we can work on getting it transcribed for you and sent out in Braille. But if you are visual, there's a link that you can click on when you get the PowerPoint to get to this. And it helped me out tremendously in knowing when to use the different modes. Okay, so those are a lot of the resources that are available for free out there for teachers and parents who are wanting to learn Braille, either to support their students or their children. And if they're just learning the code, there are lots of options out there. We're going to move now into different methods and curriculum to teach Braille to students. Okay, so some UEB literary resources that are out there for, oh no, sorry, that's the wrong title, just ignore that. Some things for beginning Braille and teaching for young ones. Sue went over this one a lot in her presentations, beginning with Braille. It is by Anna Swenson and it is phenomenal. It gives very creative and practical strategies designed for delivering quality Braille instruction to students. I used this one a lot when I was teaching if I needed an idea, if I wasn't sure about something. It was a very nice quick reference to go to and gave me a lot of really concrete suggestions that I could use when I was teaching. It gives you tips on how to teach Braille reading. It talks about introducing the contractions, and I know there were a lot of questions on that yesterday on when to introduce contractions to students. So it gives you some tips and ideas on that. And it also has sections on how to teach students to use the Braille writer. It is available from APH or in our loan library. Another resource is the Instructional Strategies for Braille Literacy. This is also a book. It provides specific creative strategies and methodologies for teaching Braille to students. It does have a nice section and addresses students with additional disabilities and or those students who are speakers of English as a second language. I know Sue spoke about this in her previous session earlier today. This gives nice strategies for working with those students as well. And it is also available from APH or in our loan library. Building on patterns most people know of and have heard of and or use. It is very popular and it is available from APH. It is a complete primary literacy program designed to teach beginning Braille users all language arts skills. It delves into reading, writing, and spelling. It has been reviewed by Just Reads Florida, and it is an approved full literary curriculum in the state of Florida. It meets all of the Florida standards for a reading curricula because it does contain all of those pieces: reading, writing, spelling, phonics, all of those. They do have a really nice website that is fairly new that they developed to go along with it. It has the homepage. It delves into pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade. The Building on Patterns series really addresses specific skill areas, both in language, auditory, tactile, and really builds a foundation of those basic concepts that students need. They focus on vocabulary, fluency, comprehension, phonemic awareness, and also phonics. And it also gets into all of those critical skills: language development, sound discrimination, tactile discrimination, hand-on concrete development. The website, if you just put in Building on Patterns website, it will pop up into Google or anything like that. I don't specifically know the website, but I'm guessing one of my colleagues is going to plop it into the chat box for me. They're really good that way. This one I used when I was teaching. I used it kind of as a supplement. I think it works really well when you have a student and you are teaching the full reading curricula. Most of the students that I taught, I was an itinerant teacher, so they did have a reading curricula that they were responsible for learning within their classrooms. So I kind of use this as a supplement when I was teaching, but I know a lot of teachers use this to teach Braille. It's very helpful for new teachers because there's definitely a flow. It gives you lesson ideas. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It has a very nice teacher resource guide. Anybody that's alternatively certified out there, this might be very helpful for them. And yep, Liz put it in the chat box for me. Thanks, Liz. So this is a nice complete curriculum. The Mangold Braille program, I'm a little biased towards. This was my favorite. I used this one most often, and they have in recent years really expanded their curricula. It comes in a lot of different pieces now. So it does have a very basic Braille that I used to begin Braille tracking skills with, letter identification skills. That is all in the basic Braille program. They have a Nemeth code number recognition program that you can get and use with your students. They also have UEB number recognition program. And this is the one on the right is the most recent one. And it has leveled practice sentences for students, which is really nice to use. A little bit more about Mangold is that it's designed to help teachers of the visually impaired teach Braille reading skills while teaching the actual Braille code. So it is not a complete curricula. It does not get into vocabulary, phonics, anything like that. It is a Braille reading program and to help with Braille code. It's very much repetitive. It builds with the student. It has amazing teacher guides that go with it also, with easy step-by-step directions. So beginning teachers and alternatively certified teachers, these would be great for you as well. I use this one the most. I used it when I was introducing Braille and to teach the Braille to students. And then I would also use it for some of my older students that were proficient Braille readers, but maybe didn't have the fluency that they may have needed. They weren't fast. So I would pull out a sheet or two of these, and for the first, minute or two of each lesson, we would practice tracking and going as fast as they could. across the lines, reading the letters off to me. I would time them. I would do it for a minute. And then the next day we would do it again and we would play Beat Your Time. And it really helped improve some of their tracking and fluency skills. And it was fun. They liked to do it. And it only took a minute or two each lesson. Braille 2, the next generation, they do now have in UEB. It was made primarily for fluent print readers that are learning Braille later on. It is not a beginning Braille program. So it is for adventitiously blind or students who may be losing their vision and are generally in upper middle school to high school age range. It comes on flash drives, which is amazing because you can download them. You can emboss just the pages that you need. You can print out the pages that you need, which is all very helpful. The Braille 2 that comes with 4 different flash drives, or there are 4 different flash drives that you can get, and they each do something a little bit differently. Braille 2, the next generation, really focuses in on lessons for UEB and those contractions. It includes punctuation and most of the common special symbols and modifiers. Then there's another one that you can get, UEB 2, which is a supplement to the Braille 2 curricula, and that is designed to teach the changes from the previous code. So if you have a student that knows eBay, English Braille, American Edition, and needs to practice more eBay or UEB and learn UEB, I think most of the kids have transitioned to UEB at this point, but there may be a few of them out there, especially if they're coming in from somewhere else. Florida tends to be very transient and we get kids at all times. This one is good for kids that are fluent in eBay and need to learn to use UEB. 6-dot celebrations is something that's fairly new and I would have been very excited about when I was teaching. It is kind of a supplement to the Braille 2 curriculum, and it has UEB reading and writing skills that are seasonal and have different holiday themes. So they're fun and motivational for the students. Oh, sorry. And then Proof Positive is nice. It's a set of materials with 3 different reading and writing levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And it provides practice in proofreading and editing for UEB. This is something that's nice and helpful, especially if your students maybe are part of the Braille Challenge, because they do have that section in the Braille Challenge, and those will be coming up in the spring, that they can practice proofreading and do some of those proofreading and editing skills that they might need for that, or even for when they're writing, reading and writing. Proofreading and editing is a skill unto itself. This gives really good practice in those areas. This is something new. I just learned about this one last week when I attended the American Printing House annual meeting. That's why we do this, so we can learn about all of these new fun things and present them to all of you. There is an Illinois Braille series now in UEB. It is available just within the last month, I think, on the APH website. It is a program that's used to teach Braille, once again, to students that used to be print readers. It was made specifically for adults, so It would be appropriate for high school students, probably not younger than that. It includes raised printed letters, Braille, tracking guides, practice activities, writing drills, and a variety of reading selections that would be motivational to that age group. It comes in different books. Book 1 is all about the symbols and uncontracted Braille. Book 2 starts to introduce those contractions in UEB order, and it is available through APH with federal quota funds. I'm guessing we will have some of them shortly in the loan library. It's so new that we do not have them right now. Just trying to keep an eye on the chat box, make sure nobody has questions.
We did have, and I know you're going to get to the talking tactile tablet, but there is apparently the 3rd version is being developed and should be coming out that will work with Mangold sheets.
Yes, and we are going to get to that in the later section.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, that's in the supplements and section. Okay, this is a fairly new curricula that came out in the last year or so. It is the I Am Able curriculum. It stands for Individualized, Meaning-Centered Approach to Braille Literacy and Education. And I'm going to just speak about it very briefly here today because coming up on Friday from 12 to 1:30, we are going to have the author and creator of this amazing program, Diane Wormsley. She will actually be telling you all about this during her session. And once again, that's on Friday at noon. But just so you know, if it applies to you, some of us had these students and some of us didn't. They came and went. And, one of the nice things about being able to do this virtually and being able to record them is, I wouldn't go to a session because I didn't have a student that needed that specific skill when the session was being presented. But lo and behold, a month later, Florida being transient, I would have a new student move in and suddenly I needed it and I couldn't go to it. We will have all of these sections on our website. So if you have somebody that moves in and you didn't go to a session, you can always go back and view it at that time. But the I Am Able program has 3 main principles: engagement, motivation, and success. And it is based on individualization for each and every student. It is used specifically for teaching Braille to students with mild to moderate cognitive impairments or other learning difficulties. So if you have a student that's really been struggling to learn the Braille code, this is a really good method that you might want to try. It's very engaging for students. It's specifically geared toward key vocabulary that is motivational towards them and is based on their interests and experiences. It makes me think a lot about what Sue said yesterday about getting kids interested in beginning Braille programs based on their interests and experiences. It's also a reading instruction that's centered on continuously analyzing the strengths and needs. So you practice until they have it, and then they move on. So if you have those struggling Braille readers, this might be a program for them. Some early tactile learning resources, because we do have those students out there that may not be ready for Braille yet, may never be ready for Braille, but will need some sort of a tactile system to use. There's several kits and programs for them. The SAM, or the Symbols and Meaning Kit, it provides strategies for developing sensory foundations for concepts about people, objects, actions, and places for students. So these would really be for those students with multiple impairments and severe impairments that really are struggling learners. It's motivational because it includes games that are used to reinforce the meaning of the symbols and to learn them in a very natural environment. And it also contains that assessment piece. So it helps you to first determine the needs and what they are. It helps you plan instruction, and then also gives you that accountability piece to see how your instruction is going and if you need to tweak it or change it in any way. There is also the STACS, the Standardized Tactile Augmentative Communication Symbols Kit. Both of these are available from APH and are available with quota funds. The tactile symbol system aids learners with conversations about people, places, events, and ideas. It's very appropriate for use as a receptive form of communication with any learner who is deaf-blind. So if you have those students out there, this is a really good program for them. There are online videos that show you how to effectively implement them, which would have been very helpful for me when I was using a system similar to this. And as they increase and get better, it would be very easy to add Braille to them. And I would do it right from the start. Like, they may never be Braille readers, but we don't know that for sure. And if they're not introduced to it, maybe not right from the start, because you really want them to focus in on the symbols first, but then as they grow and increase, you can add that Braille to them. And you never know unless you try. We do have a session coming up on Friday. I got to hear them present last year and it was amazing. It's all about when your student's learning mode is symbols. It is by Gerald Abner and Jasmine Nicholas DeGant. It is going to be on Friday from 9:45 to 11:15. They have developed a great program using these symbols and the symbols kit. So stop in on Friday to learn more about that. I don't know if there are SAM's videos on the APH website. I haven't specifically seen them, but if they're not there yet, I'm guessing that they will be coming soon, because APH is doing all of that amazing online trainings and webinar series. And yes, they are. SAM's does have trainings on their website on APH. So very helpful. So some other resources for tactile learners would be the Tactile Connections Symbols for Communication. It is a kit. You can see a lot of the things that are available in it. It helps teachers create a tactile card system for individual learners, because you really want it to be specific to those individual learners. What's nice about this one is it does have a Spanish guidebook that is available. It is a downloadable manual, so you have access to it at any time. And once again, as they grow and learn, Braille could be easily added to these. Setting the Stage for Tactile Understanding was an amazing kit that I used for my preschool students that were going to be Braille readers. It was kind of a precursor to Braille to really get that tactile learning and to set off those synapses like we learned in the last session from Sue. And it starts the students out with the real objects that they can touch and feel, and then moves them into thermoform of the objects, which would be not as concrete, but a little bit more symbolic. And then it also has all of those symbols in simple raised line illustrations. So it's really good beginning practice for learning tactile graphics and things like that as well. The kids liked it. It was fun. And it's available from APH, and it is also in our loan library. Something that we get asked about fairly regularly is Braille music, and there is a Braille music curriculum out there. Once again, it's available from APH. It is called Feel the Beat. It teaches the Braille music code. It focuses on reading, playing, and memorizing measures with the use of a recorder. For all of those students I know in the county that I taught in, once they hit 4th and 5th grade in elementary school, all of the students went through learning to read music and use a recorder. So this kind of ties right into that. They do suggest with the program that all Braille readers are introduced to Braille music around the same time that their sighted peers are, and that's usually between 3rd and 4th grade. Elaine, I'm not sure if you need to be able to read print music in order to use this program. I think it's a step-by-step program. It's not one that I've specifically used. I had younger students reading Braille and I had older students reading Braille. I didn't have any about this age that were doing Braille music. If there's anybody else out there that's used this Braille curriculum, please put in the chat box if you need to actually be able to read print music. I don't think so. I think it's step-by-step like most of the other curricula. But if you know for sure, please let us know. That's a good question.
One of those where you would really be able to work with the teacher, the music
yes.
teacher, and using
also.
So
yeah.
So maybe if you don't read music, but obviously the music teacher does. So
yes, because I do not read music, so I would definitely need some help. There would be a lot of collaborating going on during those sessions. That's for sure. So those are kind of the, ooh, my mouse got excited. Sorry. Those are a lot of the curricula that's out there used to teach Braille to students. You know, what do you think? Are there any questions? Are there ones that you like best? Were there kind of some aha? It's amazing because in the past we didn't have a lot of choices, and in the last few years there are more and more choices that are being developed. The Illinois one that just came out makes it nice to have choices. Some things that work with some students don't work with others, so being able to pick and choose is nice. Braille fundamentals updating. The Braille fundamentals is the new Illinois. So it's very similar to the Illinois. I think that they kind of changed the name, but my understanding is the Braille fundamentals is now the new Illinois curriculum. So really look into that one. Oh, Teresa says that she loves the Building on Patterns pre-K because it's complete and has great tactile storybooks that go along with it. Oh, they had elementary ones as well. I don't know about that one, Sheila, sorry. I haven't heard about that, but like I said, they're coming out with new ones every day. As soon as I hear about it, I will let you all know. Okay, so some supplements, some strategies, some things that you can use, some tools you can add to your students' toolboxes. That's where we're going to go next. Oh, Kathy said that there is an introduction to music for blind students, a course for Braille music reading. It's by Richard Tarish. I don't know that I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. Taish. It's designed for a music teacher to be used with a student who reads Braille. So you don't actually need to have to be able to read music yourself, but you'd have to work with the teacher. Okay, so we're going to move on into the instructional supplements and strategies. Let me check my time. How am I doing? Ooh, yeah, we're moving on. Okay, so the Touch and Tell was a supplemental series that I used with beginning Braille readers. This would be kind of a very first step in getting them practice using their fingers and hands to feel and gain information. They are Braille reading readiness books. It begins with actually embossed hands for them to put their hands on and to feel around and feel the fingers and things like that. It moves into embossed shapes and geometric forms. It does introduce Braille dots towards the end. It has a lot of those beginning reading concepts, you know, top of the page, bottom of the page, counting, large, small, things like that. There are flip over concepts books that I also used with my really young students that were going to be tactile learners, because there's one for textures where they have to match the textures that are the same. They are spiral bound. It very easily comes apart. So I always took mine apart and I would start with just 2 of them, and we would work on things like same and different. Are these textures the same? Are they different? How do they feel? Are they bumpy? Are they soft? Are they smooth? It then moves on to line paths, so you can work on some of those beginning tracking skills. There is one on parts of a whole, and they have a brand new one out that is a fraction one, and it comes in both UEB and Nemeth. That one is brand new. So there is a fraction one, which is nice. Tactile Treasures was always a favorite with my students. It is beginning tactile math and language concepts for young students. They are thermoform pages of real objects. This is also one that would be very good for beginning teachers or alternatively certified teachers, because it has descriptive stories that are scripted for you to follow along with all of the pages. They are big and bright, so if the student does have some vision, they are very appealing to them. It is in 3 very large volumes. I would just do a page or 2 at a time, and we would do it once or twice during the week, and the kids really loved them. This was kind of, they actually thought of this as kind of a reward and something fun to do. They didn't realize they were learning at the same time. The Braille Buzz is out and has been out now for a while. Is it a toy? Is it a tool? Tune in tomorrow. Andrea and I are giving a session tomorrow morning on the Braille Buzz and the Braille Buzz app, which has just recently been released. So we're going to dive deep into these 2 tomorrow. But I will let you know that they're highly motivational and students love them. The Lots of Dots coloring series book really gets students' hands and fingers ready. They have raised line drawings for coloring that are specifically designed for future large print and Braille readers. It also has character recognition, some pre-literacy skills, pre-math skills on the page. There's 3 different ones. There's an alphabet one, a numbers one, and a colors one. Something that you might not know about because it just came out is paint by number. So it really delves into some fun ways to reinforce number recognition and Braille number reading. It is in UEB. They are raised line drawings of real world subjects. They are printed and embossed. They are fun. They can be used within a classroom because it does have the print right on them. So they would be good in things for centers and things like that for younger students. There are 3 different sets. There's a backyard, an underwater themed one, and a rainforest themed one. They are available from APH. So look for them there. Talked about this briefly when I went into or it was actually shown when I did the I Am Able curricula for students with multiple impairments. If you can get either the curricula, the book itself separately, or you can get a kit. And one of the main thing that's included within that kit is the word playhouse. So you can get the word playhouse as part of the I Am Able curricula kit, or you can order it separately. It teaches beginning phonics and reading skills. You can use it to reinforce, to practice, work on decoding, Braille recognition, spelling, things like that. They are little cards that have Velcro on them, so they stay in place when the students are trying to read them. They don't slip and slide, and they have a nice black background, so they stand out if you have a student that does have some vision. There are just old-fashioned flashcards. They come in Braille UEB, they have contractions. I used to have my students make their own. It was more meaningful for them, but you can order them from AFB and the American Printing House. They come in both UEB or Dolch word cards. One of the things that was nice for students to do independently for practice in centers, a lot of times if they're in young elementary students and they're in centers, it's difficult to come up with a lot of things for them to do. The quick pick card sets are nice. They use just a pen, a pencil, a Braille eraser. They are flashcards. They read the flashcard, they come up with the answer, they put in the peg and pull it out, and if it pulls out easily, then they got the right answer. If it doesn't pull out, it means it was not the correct answer. So it's completely independent practice for them, and they get that immediate feedback. They are all different math skills. There's a counting one, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. They are available in UEB, which is new. So this came up a little bit earlier, the talking tactile tablet, one of my very favorite things ever. I used it, I loved it, my students loved it. It is available in the Lone Library. It is old, we have several of them. They hook into a laptop or a computer. I used it just a year and a half ago with students and was very successful with it. It gives them auditory feedback. There are Mangold pages that you can get to use with it. So it works very well as a supplemental practice session for those Mangold skills. It gives students practice with that early development of listening to kind of a mechanical voice, which they will need later for things like JAWS. That's a skill in itself, listening not just to a person, but to that kind of robotic mechanical voice. It is not offered in UEB at this time, but I know they are working with coming out with a new one for UEB, improving it and updating it. I'm not sure exactly when that's gonna come out. I know that they were working on it for the last couple of years. I heard about it a lot at ATIA and things like that. I'm guessing the pandemic kind of slowed that down, but hopefully they'll come out with a new one soon. But if you have students that are just beginning with alphabet and tracking, like I said, they are available in the loan library, and you can borrow them because we do have the materials for that. This is something that is fairly new. These are UEB practice sentences. So for those students that need that extra practice, if you're working on fluency, if you're working on speed and things like that, and you need extra supplemental materials, these are now available. They come in different reading lessons, and they all begin on kind of a first or second grade level, but they move up to high school. So it's a really great resource for students of all ages. The Braille is available in either single or double spaced Braille. So if you have those beginning students that are just learning and need the lines to be further apart, it's available double spaced for them. But if they're getting more fluent, if they're getting better, then you can go back and practice and order it also in single spaced. So it's nice to have different options especially for different students. It does contain interpoint Braille, so you don't have to know Braille in order to use it yourself. And it does have multiple uses. I know I used it some with my students if they were practicing keyboarding skills. If I just needed sentences for them to practice, I could pull them up if they had some sight and were sighted and use them for practice keyboarding skill sentences. So I didn't have to come up with them on my own. Always a nice option. Oh goodness, 3:30. Whew, I got a few more slides. Scholastic Book Program, free through FIMC, 10 free books a year for a month for teachers, yes. A month, sorry, that was a mistake. 10 free Braille books a month for teachers throughout the state of Florida. You have to be in Florida in order to take part in this program. It is through our center, FIMC, Florida Instructional Materials Center for the Visually Impaired. Go to our website, order books, 10 a month. Takes 6 to 8 weeks, so don't order Christmas books now. Order spring books now, order fall and books in the spring. You'll have access to all of these. So here are more free Braille books that you can get for your students. Braille is very expensive and hard to come by. It's getting a little bit easier. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, they can get free books both in Braille or audio from them. The American Action Fund sends out 1 free book a month for students. Share Braille is kind of a book swap meet that's online to share Braille, because once they outgrow something, you don't want that Braille to go away. You can go online, see if somebody else wants it, post it, look for books you may want in Braille, and ship them straight to the person, free matter for the blind. Seedlings offers 3 free Braille books a year for students and 4 for teachers. I used to do that every fall. Braille Tales from APH is also free Braille for students that are preschool, ages 5 and under. They get 6 free Braille books a year. And one nice thing about this program is that they will also send them to adults who are blind and Braille readers if they want to read books to their own children. So that's a nice option for them. Okay, we flew through those last few slides, but I know it's been a long day. You all have been very good and patient. I appreciate your all being here.
Yes, thank you, Sherry,
Evaluations.
for the plethora of options and resources. I know people are going to want to download that PowerPoint and go back to it frequently to find what was that one that she talked
Which
about.
word?
Yes, and so the chat, I know there was a lot going on in there, so the chat is being saved as well. So that will be uploaded, so you can always revisit that too if there was something, a link that was shared that you want to find again. And
And we
so,
are going from here into our debriefing session. So if you have questions or want to talk about any of these things further, Sue will be there from this morning. I'll be there. A lot of the FIMC staff will be there to answer questions. So join us for debriefing from 3:30 to 4.
yeah, so once I kick you out of here, you can head over there. But first, if you would kindly, just as with all of the other sessions we have, do the very quick 4-question evaluation, and the link is on our events page of our website, or you can use this QR code or the bit.ly. And then on the next slide, I'm going to give you your closing code. I think that's the next slide, right, Sherry?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
That's okay. So
yes, it is.
so the closing code is Mangold. So one of the many programs that Sherry talked about today, Mangold. And so if you are looking for credit, this session is 1.5 points. You're going to go to this link on our webpage, or this QR code, or the bit.ly FIMC-CEUS. Fill it out, use those opening and closing codes, and you will receive a certificate directly to your email address. And I think that is it for this session. So yes,
thank you
all so much for joining us. We're going to head over to the debriefing session. I will throw a link in the chat, but the link is also on our on the agenda, and it's on our website as well. But and just a reminder, tomorrow we are starting again at 9 o'clock with buzzing about Braille. So let me get this link here. Okay. All right, so I'll give you a second to grab that Zoom link out of the chat if you want to join us in the debriefing room. And otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. See you soon.